1 a.m., my daughter knocked on the door. Her father emptied the account and ran with his mistress. I spread the receipts across the table, organizing by date. March through September. A pattern emerged like dots connecting on a map. Georgetown, Kentucky. Lexington. Then Ohio. Then Tennessee. Each location matching a bank statement. Each receipt proof of what he thought he'd hidden. Have you ever trusted someone completely, only to discover they'd been planning your destruction? Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family, enjoy the story. 3 bank accounts. All emptied. 1 man. Gone. Have you ever trusted someone completely, only to discover they'd been planning your destruction? While we slept, he moved our entire life savings across state lines. But what he didn't know was that I keep receipts, every single one. The bank statement trembled in her hands. 3 accounts. All zeros. I didn't ask how, I asked when. It was 1 a.m. When my daughter's knuckles hit the front door. Not a gentle tap. Not a doorbell. The desperate kind of knock that cuts through sleep and shoots ice through your veins. I found her under the porch light, shivering in pajamas and a thin jacket, clutching papers like they might catch fire. Mom. Her voice cracked on that single word. He's gone. The bank statements lay scattered on my kitchen table now. Chase Bank, $0. First National, $0. The business savings we'd built over 15 years, $0. Each page stamped with yesterday's date. Each transaction signed with his name. I counted the buzz of the fluorescent bulb above us. 14 steady hums before she spoke again. There's a woman. I found her picture in his truck. She slid a printed photo across the wood. Blonde hair, younger than our daughter, wearing a dress I'd never seen. They've been planning this. The paper felt cold between my fingers. Real. Final. He said he was working late. My daughter's words came faster now. Every Tuesday for months. But the bank shows wire transfers. Always Tuesday nights. Always after midnight. I walked to the junk drawer where I keep everything, old phone chargers, rubber bands, and yes, every receipt that crosses our threshold. My husband used to tease me about it. Called me his paper hoarder. Not tonight. The receipts told a different story. Hotel charges I'd never questioned. Gas stations in towns I'd never visited. Restaurant bills for 2 when he said he was eating alone. All Tuesday nights. All after midnight. If this nightmare sounds familiar, subscribe now. You'll need what comes next. Mom, what do we do? She was 26, married last spring, still calling me when the world fell apart. He took everything. The house payment is due Friday. I spread the receipts across the table, organizing by date. March through September. A pattern emerged like dots connecting on a map. Georgetown, Kentucky. Lexington. Then Ohio. Then Tennessee. Each location matching a bank statement. Each receipt proof of what he thought he'd hidden. We don't panic, I said, pulling out a yellow legal pad from the same junk drawer. We document everything. The kitchen clock read 2:17 a.m. when I started writing. Column 1, dates. Column 2, locations. Column 3, amounts. By 3:30, I had 47 receipts that made no sense individually. Together, they drew a picture of betrayal so calculated it took my breath away. But here's what he didn't count on. I noticed everything. The cologne that wasn't his usual brand. The phone calls that ended when I walked into rooms. The way he started paying cash for things he used to charge. As dawn broke through the kitchen window, I spread every receipt, every bank slip, every forgotten paper across the table. 3 piles. 3 states. One pattern he never saw coming. Comment paper trail if you've ever saved something that later saved you. The paralegal said, start with what seems random. I had 47 receipts that made no sense, until they did. Coffee went cold while I worked. The yellow legal pad filled with names, dates, and dollar amounts that painted a picture no wife should ever have to see. Each receipt became a breadcrumb leading deeper into a maze I never knew existed. Margaret's Diner, Georgetown, $47.50. 2 meals, 2 drinks. I was home that night, eating leftover casserole alone while he claimed to be driving truck routes. Holiday Inn Express, Lexington, $127.89. Same night as Margaret's Diner. Same credit card. Our credit card. Shell Station, I-65 South, $83.20. Expensive gas for a man who said he was working locally. The pattern emerged slowly, then all at once. Every Tuesday, the same sequence. Dinner for 2, hotel for 1 night, gas for a long drive home. For 7 months, he'd lived a double life using our money to fund it. Most people throw away the proof they'll need later. Subscribe to learn what to save. My daughter sat across from me, laptop open, cross-referencing credit card statements with my receipt collection. Mom, look at this. She turned the screen toward me. 3 wire transfers to First Tennessee Bank. Same day as these hotel receipts. I wrote it down. Legal pad page 4 now, wire transfers that matched hotel dates. Money leaving our accounts the same nights he was supposedly working late, sleeping in truck stops, building our future. There's more, she said, scrolling through online banking. Look at the Tennessee account activity. The screen showed deposits I'd never authorized. Our money, moved systematically, building an account I'd never heard of in a state we'd never lived in. But the real discovery came when I found his old jacket in the hall closet. Pockets usually emptied, but this time something crinkled when I lifted it off the hanger. Hotel receipt, Georgetown, Kentucky. Date, our anniversary. Time, 3:47 p.m. I was home making his favorite dinner, pot roast with carrots, setting candles on the table like every year before. While I chopped vegetables and planned our evening, he was checking into a hotel room with someone whose name I didn't recognize. My hands shook as I added it to the legal pad. Receipt 48. The one that turned suspicion into certainty. The jacket smelled like perfume I'd never worn and cologne that wasn't his usual brand. Evidence hanging in our hallway for weeks, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. Dawn light filled the kitchen as I finished organizing. 7 months of deception laid out in neat columns. Every Tuesday mapped and documented. What would you do with proof your partner was living a double life? She looked at my scattered papers and said, "This isn't heartbreak, it's wire fraud." My hands went numb. The drive to Indiana took 3 hours. My daughter insisted on coming, laptop bag packed with printed bank statements and a folder thick with receipts. Margaret Thompson's office sat above a small-town pharmacy, the kind of place where everyone knows your business before you walk through the door. But Margaret wasn't everyone. 30 years as a paralegal, specialized in financial crimes, retired but still taking cases that mattered. A friend of my sister's had recommended her after hearing our story over Sunday dinner. Set everything on the table, Margaret said, clearing space between law books and case files. Don't organize it. Let me see it exactly like you found it. I dumped the contents of my manila envelope across her desk. Receipts, bank statements, printed emails, even that hotel receipt from his jacket pocket. The evidence of 7 months spread like a deck of cards waiting to be read. Margaret worked silently, reading each document, making notes on her own legal pad. Her pen moved steadily across pages while I sat trying not to fidget. 20 minutes passed before she spoke. How many accounts did you have together? 3 checking, 2 savings, 1 business account for his trucking. And you were listed on all of them? Yes. Joint accounts. Everything joint. Margaret pulled out a federal code book, pages marked with colored tabs. Interstate wire fraud is a federal crime. Moving money across state lines to conceal theft, that's what this is. My daughter leaned forward. But they were married. Can you steal from your own accounts? Not when you're hiding assets and planning to abandon your spouse. Margaret flipped through the code book. These wire transfers to Tennessee, combined with the hotel receipts and systematic deception, this shows intent to defraud. She spread our papers into new piles. Column 1, Evidence of the affair. Column 2, Financial transactions. Column 3, Interstate movement of funds. Each pile told part of the story, but together they painted something larger. He opened the Tennessee account 6 months ago, Margaret continued, reading from our bank records. Same week you show hotel receipts starting. This wasn't impulse. This was premeditated financial fraud. The room felt smaller suddenly. What started as a cheating husband had become a federal crime. What do we do now? I asked. Margaret pulled out a contact card. FBI Financial Crimes Division, Louisville. Agent Rivera. I've worked with her before. She picked up her phone. Let me make a call. While Margaret spoke in legal terms I barely understood, my daughter squeezed my hand. Mom, are you okay with this? Once we involve the FBI. I thought about Tuesday nights. About anniversary dinners eaten alone. About bank accounts emptied while I slept. About a 26-year-old daughter who should be planning her own future instead of picking up pieces of mine. I'm okay with it. Margaret hung up the phone. Agent Rivera can see you Thursday morning. Bring everything, every receipt, every statement, every piece of evidence. She pulled out a federal code book. Wire fraud across state lines. If we can prove intent, he's looking at 20 years. Ever discovered something was worse than you thought, but better for your case? Kentucky to Ohio, $47,000. Ohio to Tennessee, $31,000. Tennessee to nowhere, everything else. Agent Rivera's wall looked like a detective movie. Maps of Kentucky, Ohio, and Tennessee covered in red pins connected by string. Each pin marked a bank transaction. Each string traced money flowing away from our life towards something I was only beginning to understand. Your husband was methodical, Agent Rivera said, pointing to the timeline she'd constructed. March 15th, opens Ohio account. March 22nd, first transfer from your joint savings. Every Tuesday after that, like clockwork. The pattern was worse than I'd imagined. Not just affair money, systematic theft spanning 3 states, building toward an exit plan that included erasing me completely. The Ohio account shows activity for 2 months, then everything moves to Tennessee, she continued. Classic money laundering technique. Move funds multiple times to obscure the trail. My daughter sat beside me, taking notes like she was studying for finals. How much total? From your accounts? $127,000. But there's more. Agent Rivera pulled out another file. The Tennessee account has deposits from other sources. We're tracking additional victims. The word hit like cold water. Victims. Plural. This gets darker, subscribe so you don't miss how deep it goes. Other families? We suspect so. Similar patterns in Ohio and Tennessee. Married men, trucking industry, systematic account drainage, then disappearance with younger women. She showed us photographs. 3 different women, 3 different states, all blonde, all young, all posed in the same style of pictures I'd found in his truck. The Tennessee account opened 6 months ago, Agent Rivera said, consulting her timeline. Same day you show the first Georgetown hotel receipt. But here's what's interesting, the account application lists a business address in Tennessee that doesn't exist. I studied the map. Red pins connected our money to places I'd never been, people I'd never met, plans I'd never suspected. The Ohio connection is a trucking company. Legitimate business, but they reported payroll irregularities 6 months ago. Money missing from driver accounts. My husband drove for 3 different companies. Rotating contracts, he'd always said, to maximize income. Now I understood the real reason. So he was stealing from other drivers too? We believe so. Using his access to company accounts, skimming percentages, then moving the money through the three-state pipeline. The room felt hot despite the air conditioning. 7 months of betrayal had become something larger, a criminal operation using our marriage as cover. The Tennessee account opened 6 months ago. The same day he said he was visiting his sick mother. That Tuesday. I remembered making extra food, packing leftovers for him to take to his mother in the nursing home. While I worried about her health, he was opening accounts to steal our future. Screenshot that timeline, you'll see why it matters. Room 237, registered to a name I'd never heard. But the credit card? That was ours. The phone calls started at 9 a.m. Wednesday morning. I had a list of 12 hotels from Georgetown to Lexington, all matching dates on our credit card statements. My daughter sat beside me with a notebook, writing down every detail. Holiday Inn Express, Georgetown, how may I help you? I need to verify a registration from March 22nd. Room charged to a Michael Harrison credit card. Let me check our records. Keyboard clicks through the phone. Yes, I show that registration. Room 237. Guest name listed as Amanda Richardson. Amanda Richardson. I wrote it down, hands steady despite my heart hammering. Can you confirm what credit card was used? Visa ending in 4738. Our card. The one I use for groceries and gas, now funding hotel rooms for a woman whose name I'd never heard. Thank you. 11 more calls. 11 more confirmations. Same woman's name. Same credit card. Our credit card funding a relationship that had been stealing pieces of our life for 7 months. But the worst call came from the Marriott in Lexington. Actually, ma'am, I show multiple reservations for that guest name and credit card. Would you like me to read the dates? Please. She rattled off 12 dates. Every Tuesday from March through August. A standing weekly reservation, paid for with money taken from accounts I'd helped build. Is there anything else I can help you with? The reservations going forward, are there any scheduled? Let me check. More keyboard sounds. Yes, actually. Every Tuesday through December. Same room, same payment method. My pen stopped moving. December. He'd planned this through Christmas. Through our 32nd wedding anniversary. Through our daughter's birthday and holidays I was already planning. I hung up and looked at my list. 12 hotels, 47 confirmations, 6 months of Tuesday nights that had built a parallel life I never knew existed. Mom? My daughter's voice seemed far away. What did they say? He's booked through Christmas. The room went quiet except for the wall clock ticking. Each second marking time that had been stolen, plans that had been made, future that had been decided without me. I called the last hotel on my list. Hampton Inn, just outside Tennessee state line. Guest registration under Amanda Richardson, the desk clerk confirmed. But ma'am, I should mention. We've had some concerns about this account. What kind of concerns? Multiple credit cards used, all different names, all approved by the same person calling to make reservations. It seemed unusual enough that we flagged it for management review. Different names. Multiple cards. All approved by my husband. How many different credit cards? For that I can see. All authorized by Michael Harrison, but different account holders. I thanked her and hung up. 4 different credit cards meant 4 different victims. 4 different women whose lives he'd stolen from to fund his escape plan. Would you keep calling, or would you stop at the first confirmation? Joint business account, the banker said. You're both authorized. I'd never heard of the business. First National Bank in downtown Louisville felt like a courthouse, marble floors, hushed voices, and the weight of other people's money decisions. I'd called ahead, requesting a meeting about account irregularities. The business accounts manager, Ms. Chin, had agreed to see me Thursday afternoon. Harrison Transportation Services, she read from her computer screen. Business checking account opened 18 months ago. Current balance, $73,000. I sat perfectly still. I'm sorry, what business? Ms. Chen's fingers paused over her keyboard. The account shows you as co-owner. Social Security number matches our records. You signed the application. May I see the signature card? She printed a copy and slid it across her desk. There was my name, Helen Harrison, written in handwriting that looked almost right. Almost. The H in Helen was wrong, too narrow, too sharp. I'd been signing my name for 58 years. I knew every curve. This isn't my signature. Ms. Chen studied the card more closely. The account has been very active. Large deposits every month, usually followed by wire transfers within 24 hours. Where do the deposits come from? Multiple sources. 3 different trucking companies, plus individual cash deposits. She scrolled through the transaction history. Looks like payroll from various employers, then immediate transfers to out-of-state accounts. 3 trucking companies. My husband worked for 3 different companies, rotating contracts every few months. I'd thought he was maximizing opportunities. Now I understood he was maximizing theft. If you think you know your spouse's finances, subscribe, this will shock you. The wire transfers, where do they go? Tennessee Commerce Bank, Knoxville branch. Account number. She read off numbers I didn't recognize. The same Tennessee account Agent Rivera had shown me. The endpoint of our stolen money, now revealed as the destination for much more. Ms. Chen, I need copies of everything. Every deposit, every transfer, every signature. I'll need to verify your identity first. She compared my driver's license to the signature card. The signatures don't match. That's because I didn't sign it. 20 minutes later, I walked out with a folder full of evidence. 18 months of systematic theft from 3 trucking companies, funneled through a business I'd never heard of, using a signature that wasn't mine. My daughter waited in the car, engine running. What did you find? He's been stealing from his employers. Using my name and our address to open accounts, then moving company money to Tennessee. I handed her the folder. Transaction after transaction showing money flowing from legitimate businesses into accounts designed to disappear it. Each deposit matched to a wire transfer. Each wire transfer building toward the day he planned to vanish. Mom, this is way bigger than we thought. I know. But the worst part sat at the bottom of the folder. A business license application for Harrison Transportation Services. Filed in my name, using my social security number, listing our home address as headquarters for a company that existed only to steal. The business license? Filed in my name. The signature? Close, but not quite right. Look at the date on this license application, I said, pointing to the top corner. Filed 6 months ago. Same week he started acting weird about Tuesday meetings. Comment, forged, if this makes you want to check your own accounts. The federal building in Louisville looked like it could survive anything. Thick walls, metal detectors, and guards who'd seen every kind of human disaster. Agent Rivera met us in the lobby, badge displayed, leading us through hallways lined with wanted posters and crime prevention flyers. Financial Crimes Division, Conference Room B, she said, gesturing toward a table covered with files. I've been reviewing your case since Margaret Thompson called. Our case. 2 words that turned a marriage into a criminal investigation. I set my folder on the table, bank statements, hotel receipts, the forged business documents from First National. Agent Rivera added her own files, creating a paper mountain of evidence. Let's start with the interstate wire fraud, she said, opening a legal pad. Money moved from Kentucky to Ohio to Tennessee, done to conceal theft from multiple victims. That's federal jurisdiction. How do you prove intent to steal? My daughter asked. He could say he was just managing money. The forged signatures change everything. Agent Rivera pulled out the business license application. Using his wife's identity without consent to open business accounts, then using those accounts to launder stolen funds. That's identity theft plus wire fraud. She spread out a timeline covering 3 months. March, opens Ohio account using forged business license. April, begins systematic theft from trucking companies. May, opens Tennessee account and starts moving money toward final destination. Each month represented thousands of dollars stolen, families hurt, trust destroyed across multiple states. The hotel receipts established the affair timeline, Agent Rivera continued. But more importantly, they show he was physically present in each state when accounts were opened. Physical presence plus forged documents equals conspiracy to commit fraud. What happens now? I asked. I open a formal investigation. Issue preservation orders for all accounts in Ohio and Tennessee. Interview the other trucking companies about missing funds. She pulled out a case number sheet. This becomes FBI Case 2024, FC, 7842. A number. Our destroyed life reduced to a case number in a filing system. Agent Rivera, how long does this take? Depends on cooperation from banks and state authorities. Could be months. She looked directly at me. But I should warn you, he'll know we're investigating once we freeze the accounts. Flight risk becomes a real concern. Flight risk. Like he hadn't already flown away from everything that mattered. He's already gone, I said. Been gone since March, we just didn't know it. Agent Rivera opened a case file folder, writing our names at the top. We've been watching similar patterns. You're not his first victim. The words hit like ice water. Other women. Other families destroyed by the same methods. How many other families did he destroy? 3 women. 3 states. Same man. Same methods. None of us knew about the others. Agent Rivera set up a conference call for Friday morning. I've identified 2 other cases with identical patterns, she said, adjusting the speakerphone. Both women agreed to share information. The first voice belonged to Linda, calling from Ohio. He told me he was divorced. Said his ex-wife got everything in the settlement. Her voice carried the same exhausted tone I recognized from my own reflection. Took me 8 months to discover he was married to you the whole time. 8 months. While I was cooking his favorite meals and planning our future, he was building a relationship with Linda, using our money to convince her he was available. How did you find out? I asked. Credit card statement came to his apartment, our apartment. I opened it thinking it was a mistake. All these hotel charges in Kentucky. When I called the hotels, they confirmed reservations made by Michael Harrison with a different woman. The second voice was younger, sharper. This is Carol, calling from Tennessee. He cleaned out my savings account 3 weeks ago. A pause. Told me we were moving to Florida together, needed cash for a house down payment. Florida. Agent Rivera made a note. How much did he take? My daughter asked. $47,000. Everything I'd saved for college and my daughter's medical expenses. Carol's voice cracked. He had keys to my house, access to my bank accounts, even met my parents. This pattern repeats silently across America. Subscribe to spot the warning signs. Linda spoke next. He used the same story with me. Said his trucking business was expanding, needed investment capital to buy more trucks. I gave him $32,000. The numbers added up to more than he'd stolen from our accounts. He'd built a criminal network using romance to fund it, moving between women like he moved money between states. The scary part, Carol continued, was how normal everything seemed. Tuesday night dates, weekend trips, talk about our future together. I was planning a wedding while he was planning to disappear. Same here, Linda said. He even bought a ring. Cheap one, I realize now, but at the time I thought we were building something real. Agent Rivera leaned toward the phone. Ladies, I need you to know, there may be more victims. The financial patterns suggest he's been doing this for at least 2 years. 2 years. Before our money troubles started, before the Tuesday night meetings, before any of us suspected our lives were being stolen one transaction at a time. What's the next step? I asked. Coordinated investigation across 3 states. Each of you files formal complaints with your local FBI offices. We share evidence and freeze all accounts simultaneously. Will we get our money back? Carol asked. Asset recovery depends on what's left and where it's hidden. But prosecution doesn't require restitution. The crimes stand regardless of whether funds are recovered. The call ended with exchange of phone numbers and promises to stay in contact. 3 women who'd never met, connected by betrayal and the hope that justice might still be possible. The woman in Ohio said, "He's not just stealing money. He's stealing time. Years of it. Which hurts more, the money or the years? Tell me in the comments." He answered on the second ring, voice steady as ice. "I wondered when you'd call." Agent Rivera had prepared me for this moment. The recorded phone call, legal oversight, specific questions designed to get admissions without alerting him to the investigation's scope. My daughter sat beside me, headphones on, listening to every word. "Michael, we need to talk about the accounts." "Which accounts?" His tone stayed level, but I heard the calculation underneath. "All of them. Kentucky, Ohio, Tennessee. The business account I never signed for." Silence stretched for 15 seconds. Background noise suggested he was driving, radio playing country music, road sounds indicating highway speed. "You've been busy," he finally said. "Not as busy as you. Tuesday nights in Georgetown, standing reservations through December, money moved across 3 states. I read from Agent Rivera's script. Using my name to open business accounts. Helen, you don't understand what you're dealing with." There it was. The threat Agent Rivera had predicted. Not denial, not explanation, threat. "Help me understand, Michael. Help me understand how you justified stealing from our daughter's future." "I justified nothing." His voice hardened. "I took what I needed to build something better." Agent Rivera gestured for me to keep him talking. "Better for who? Amanda Richardson? Linda in Ohio? Carol in Tennessee?" The line went quiet except for road noise. Then, unexpectedly, he laughed. Not humor, recognition that his carefully constructed lies had collapsed. "You think you know everything." "I know enough. Wire fraud, identity theft, money laundering across state lines. I know you forged my signature to steal from trucking companies. Those companies owe me more than I took. Years of underpayment, missed bonuses, promises they never kept. So you decided to take it anyway." "I decided to take what was mine." Agent Rivera scribbled a note, admission of theft. "And Linda's savings? Carol's daughter's medical fund? Were those yours too?" Another silence. When he spoke again, the calculated calm was gone. "You want to play investigator, Helen? You want to involve the FBI and make this complicated?" The threat was clear now. "I can make things very uncomfortable for you. More uncomfortable than discovering my husband spent 7 months planning to abandon me. You have no idea what I'm capable of." Agent Rivera held up a stop sign. "Enough admissions recorded." "Michael, where are you?" "Close enough." The line went dead. I set down the phone, hands shaking despite trying to stay calm. Agent Rivera rewound the recording, playing back key phrases. "I took what I needed. I decided to take what was mine. You have no idea what I'm capable of." She looked up from her notes. "That's conspiracy, admission of theft, and criminal threatening. All on federal recording." His voice changed when I mentioned the FBI case number. "You don't understand what you're dealing with. Ever had someone threaten you when you got too close to the truth?" The cell tower data placed him in Florida. The woman's social media placed her in Mexico. Someone was lying. Agent Rivera's tech team worked faster than I'd expected. Within 48 hours of our recorded phone call, they'd traced Michael's cell phone to a tower near Jacksonville, Florida. GPS coordinates, timestamps, even the direction he was traveling when the call connected. Cell towers don't lie, Agent Rivera said, pointing to a map covered in red dots. Your husband was driving south on I-95, approximately 30 miles north of Jacksonville, at 2:47 p.m. when you called. But Amanda Richardson's Facebook account told a different story. Photos from Cancun, Mexico, posted the same day as our phone call. Beach scenes, resort restaurants, captions about vacation time with my love. The photos are fake, Agent Rivera's tech specialist explained. Reverse image search shows they're stock photos from a travel website, posted to multiple fake accounts. So where is she really? Best guess? Same area as your husband. The social media posts are designed to throw off anyone tracking their location. My daughter studied the printouts. Why post fake vacation photos? Creates an alibi, Agent Rivera said. If anyone asks where Amanda is, friends can point to her social media showing her safely in Mexico, not involved in interstate fraud. The tech specialist pulled up more data. Michael's phone shows consistent movement between 3 locations over the past 2 weeks. Jacksonville, Gainesville, and Ocala. All in North Florida. What's in those cities? We're checking. But the pattern suggests he's not just hiding, he's working. Regular stops, scheduled movements, like he's conducting business. Agent Rivera spread out banking records. The Tennessee account shows 2 large withdrawals in the past week. Both ATMs in Gainesville. Total, $23,000 cash. Cash meant harder to trace, easier to disappear. But it also meant they were burning through stolen money quickly. There's something else, the tech specialist said. Michael's phone contacted 3 different phones in the past week. All unregistered prepaid numbers, all located in the same Florida region. Other accomplices? Or other victims? The calls were short, under 2 minutes each. Could be recruitment calls, setting up new marks. The thought made my stomach turn. While I was filing FBI reports and gathering evidence, he was already working on destroying more families. Can you trace the numbers? We're working on it. Prepaid phones are harder to track, but we can monitor if they're used again. Agent Rivera marked the Florida locations on her master map. The good news is he's staying in one region instead of running further. Suggests he feels safe, thinks he's covered his tracks. The Florida address? A mail forwarding service. The Mexico posts? Stock photos from 2019. How far would you go to track down your stolen life? The judge signed the freeze order at 4:17 p.m. By 4:23, we'd locked down accounts in 3 states. Federal courthouse hallways echo differently when justice is moving in your favor. The marble floors that had intimidated me during our first visit now felt solid, dependable. Agent Rivera walked beside me, carrying folders thick with evidence we'd built together over 2 months of investigation. Emergency asset preservation hearing, she explained as we approached the courtroom. Judge Martinez has reviewed our case file. The wire fraud evidence is compelling enough for immediate action. Inside, the federal prosecutor laid out our timeline. Bank statements projected on screens, hotel receipts entered as exhibits, wire transfer records tracing stolen money across state lines. Our kitchen table investigation had become courtroom evidence. Your Honor, the prosecutor said, the defendant has systematically moved $127,000 from joint accounts without spousal consent, using forged business documents to launder additional funds stolen from employers. Judge Martinez studied the documents, occasionally looking over his glasses at me. Mrs. Harrison, you were unaware of the business account opened in your name? Completely unaware, Your Honor. The signature on file doesn't match mine. And the transfers to Tennessee occurred without your knowledge? I learned about them when our accounts were emptied. He nodded, making notes. The whole proceeding felt surreal, our private devastation transformed into legal proceedings, our destroyed trust becoming federal evidence. The court finds sufficient evidence of interstate wire fraud and identity theft, Judge Martinez announced. Asset preservation orders are granted for all accounts identified in Kentucky, Ohio, and Tennessee. Agent Rivera's phone buzzed with confirmation messages. Banks in 3 states simultaneously froze accounts, stopping any further movement of stolen funds. Don't wait for justice to find you. Subscribe and be ready when trouble hits. But the real surprise came when Agent Rivera checked the Tennessee account balance on her laptop. Helen, you need to see this. The screen showed $184,000. More than he'd stolen from our accounts. Much more than the amount we'd traced through wire transfers. Where did the extra money come from? Agent Rivera scrolled through transaction history. Multiple deposits from sources we haven't identified yet. Cash deposits, money orders, even some wire transfers from banks in Georgia and South Carolina. Additional victims. Additional families he'd destroyed while building his escape fund. The good news is all of it's frozen now, she continued. The bad news is we need to sort out which money belongs to whom. I thought about Linda in Ohio, Carol in Tennessee, other women whose names we still didn't know. Money mixed together like lives tangled by one man's systematic deception. What happens next? Asset recovery process. Could take months to untangle everything, but the money can't move while we investigate. Walking out of the federal courthouse, my daughter squeezed my hand. Mom, we actually did it. We froze accounts. That's different than getting justice. But that evening, Agent Rivera called with news that changed everything. Helen, we found him. He's in custody. The Tennessee account had $127,000. More than he'd stolen. Much more. Where did the extra money come from? Guess in the comments. Federal marshals don't knock politely. They found him at 6 a.m. in a motel outside Tallahassee. The call came while I was making coffee, still processing yesterday's courthouse victory. Agent Rivera's voice carried satisfaction I hadn't heard before. We got him. Sunrise arrest at a budget motel on Highway 27. He's in federal custody. My hands went steady for the first time in months. Where was Amanda? Different room, same motel. Both in custody on multiple charges: wire fraud, money laundering, identity theft. She's been helping him target victims. Amanda Richardson wasn't just the other woman. She was his business partner in destroying families. How did you find them? The cell phone trace led us to Tallahassee, but it was the prepaid phone calls that pinpointed the location. He'd been calling other potential victims from the motel room. Other potential victims. Even while hiding from federal investigation, he'd been working on his next targets. Agent Rivera continued. Local authorities surrounded the motel at 5:30 a.m. No resistance, but you should know what we found in their rooms. She read from the arrest report. Fake identification documents for Michael Harrison, David Richardson, and James Thompson. 3 complete identities, each with supporting documents, driver's licenses, social security cards, bank account information. He was planning to become someone else. Multiple someone else's. The laptop in Amanda's room had contact information for women in 6 different states. Dating profiles, financial information, relationship timelines. They were running a systematic operation. The scope kept expanding. What started as discovering my husband's affair had become uncovering a criminal enterprise that destroyed families for profit. There's something else you need to know, Agent Rivera said. Plane ticket to Costa Rica, departing that afternoon. One-way ticket. If we'd been 6 hours later, he would have disappeared forever, leaving behind destroyed lives and empty bank accounts. All his planning, all his careful timeline construction, had come down to 6 hours. Subscribe now. Criminals always think they have more time than they do. My daughter appeared in the kitchen doorway. Was that about Dad? He's in jail. She sat down heavily. How do I feel about this? I should be happy, but you can feel relieved and sad at the same time. He's still your father. He stopped being my father when he stole our future. Agent Rivera was still on the phone. Helen, are you there? I'm here. Preliminary hearing is scheduled for next week. You'll need to be there for victim impact testimony. Victim impact testimony. My chance to tell the court what his systematic betrayal had cost our family. Not just money, trust, security, the foundation we'd built our lives on. Will I see him there? He'll be present for the hearing, yes. 3 months after discovering empty bank accounts, would sit in a federal courtroom and look directly at the man who'd spent months planning our destruction. In his room, fake IDs for 3 different names, and a plane ticket to Costa Rica dated for that afternoon. Comment, caught, if you felt that satisfaction. His lawyer said, my client wants to make this right. I said, 20 years too late. The federal courthouse conference room felt smaller with everyone present, federal prosecutor, defense attorney, Agent Rivera, and me. Michael sat at the far end of the table in orange jumpsuit and handcuffs, looking older than I remembered. Mrs. Harrison, the defense attorney began, my client deeply regrets the harm caused to your family. I studied Michael's face. No eye contact, no expression I recognized from 31 years of marriage. The man I'd loved had become a stranger wearing my husband's features. Does he regret the harm, or getting caught? The prosecutor, Ms. Chen, opened her case file. The government is prepared to offer a plea agreement. Full admission of guilt on all charges, wire fraud, money laundering, identity theft. Complete restitution to all victims. What's the sentence? 18 months federal prison, followed by 5 years supervised probation. 18 months. For destroying multiple families, stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars, systematically planning our destruction for months. That seems light for federal crimes. Ms. Chen nodded. The plea agreement includes cooperation with ongoing investigation into similar cases. His testimony could help prosecute other criminals using identical methods. Michael finally looked up. Helen, I want you to know. Don't. My voice came out sharper than intended. Don't explain. Don't apologize. Just answer one question. He waited. When did you stop loving me? His lawyer touched his arm, warning against answering. But Michael spoke anyway. I never stopped loving you. I stopped believing we had a future. So you built one with our money and someone else. I built one with someone who didn't know who I used to be. The honesty hurt worse than lies would have. He hadn't stopped loving me, he'd stopped wanting to be himself. Ms. Chen cleared her throat. The restitution amount includes principal plus interest and damages. Total recovery would be $340,000, significantly more than was stolen. Triple damages under federal law. The system was designed to make victims more than whole, to punish beyond simple repayment. Mrs. Harrison, Michael said, ignoring his lawyer's signals. I know this doesn't fix anything, but the money will be returned. All of it. Money was never the real theft, I replied. You stole years. You stole trust. You stole the future we planned together. The defense attorney shuffled papers. My client accepts full responsibility and agrees to complete financial restitution. And Linda in Ohio? Carol in Tennessee? The other families you destroyed? Full restitution to all identified victims. Ms. Chen made final notes. The plea hearing is scheduled for next Friday. Mrs. Harrison, would you like to provide victim impact testimony? I looked directly at Michael. I have things to say. Full restitution, plus damages. The catch? He'd only serve 18 months. Justice or mercy? What would you choose? The check was larger than our original savings. Justice, it turns out, includes interest. First National Bank felt different this time. Instead of discovering betrayal, I was rebuilding security. The branch manager, Ms. Rodriguez, had prepared a private office for our transaction. Restitution payment from Federal Case 2024, FC, 7842, she said, reviewing the court documents. Principal amount plus federal damages, totaling $347,000. The number was staggering. Our original savings had been $89,000. Federal law required triple damages, plus interest, plus attorney fees paid by the defendant. My daughter sat beside me, staring at the certified check. "Mom, this is more than Dad stole from everyone combined." "The law recognizes that financial crime costs more than money," Ms. Rodriguez explained. "Time lost, credit damaged, emotional distress, all calculated into federal restitution requirements." Agent Rivera had explained the formula during our final meeting. Base theft amount times 3, plus investigative costs, plus victim compensation for time spent recovering assets. The system was designed to make crime unprofitable. What about the other victims? Similar restitution amounts, Agent Rivera had said. Linda received $127,000. Carol received $94,000. 2 additional victims we identified received payments totaling $78,000. Michael had paid for his 18-month sentence with every dollar he'd stolen, plus penalties that would follow him for years. Your story isn't over when you think it is. Subscribe for more endings that surprise. But the money felt strange in my hands. Heavier than it should be, carrying weight beyond numbers. This wasn't just our savings returned, it was acknowledgement that betrayal had consequences, that systems existed to make victims whole. "Mrs. Harrison," Ms. Rodriguez said, "would you like to establish new accounts with additional security measures?" New accounts meant new signatures, new passwords, new protections I'd never needed before. The innocence of trust had been replaced by wisdom about verification. "Joint accounts?" my daughter asked. "Individual accounts," I said. "I'm 58 years old. Time I learned to manage money independently." We spent 2 hours setting up safeguards. Multiple signature requirements for large transactions. Notification systems for any unusual activity. Monthly statements reviewed by both me and my daughter. Trust, but verify. The slogan of a life rebuilt. Walking to the parking lot, my daughter asked the question I'd been avoiding. "Mom, are you okay? Really okay?" I thought about Tuesday nights, about kitchen tables covered in evidence, about federal courtrooms and asset freeze orders. About learning that the man I'd trusted completely had planned my destruction for months. "I'm different," I said finally. "Different isn't the same as okay, but it might be better." "Better how?" "I know what I'm capable of now. When everything fell apart, I didn't fall apart. I fought back. The check was deposited, accounts established, future secured. But the real victory wasn't financial. "There's something I need to tell you," I said, pulling a letter from my purse. "I heard from Linda in Ohio yesterday." My daughter read the handwritten note. Linda had discovered similar financial irregularities in her sister's marriage. Same patterns, same methods, different man. She's asking for help investigating. But the real victory wasn't the money. It was the letter from Ohio, another victim, now investigating her case. "What would you do with a second chance at financial security?" The financial advisor asked, "What matters most now?" I said, teaching my daughter that trust can be rebuilt, carefully. The investment office overlooked downtown Louisville, floor-to-ceiling windows showing a city that looked the same but felt different. 6 months after the restitution payment, I was learning to think about money as security rather than shared dreams. Conservative portfolio, I told Jennifer Walsh, the financial advisor recommended by Agent Rivera. "I'm not trying to get rich. I'm trying to stay safe." Jennifer spread out options across her desk. Government bonds, insured savings accounts, diversified funds managed by institutions with federal oversight. "After what you've experienced," she said, "security makes sense. But don't let fear prevent reasonable growth." My daughter sat beside me, taking notes like she had during our FBI meetings. Different purpose now, learning financial planning instead of criminal investigation. "Mom, what about the house?" The mortgage was paid off with restitution money. Our home belonged to us completely, free from debt that could be stolen or manipulated. Paid in full. First time in 30 years we owned something outright. Jennifer reviewed our new accounts. Emergency fund, retirement investments, general savings. All in your name only, all with multiple security measures. Individual ownership felt strange after decades of joint everything. But individual meant protected, controlled, mine to manage without fear of betrayal. There's something else, I said, pulling out a manila folder. I want to start a foundation. My daughter looked surprised. We hadn't discussed this. Financial fraud victim assistance, I explained. Help families navigate federal investigations, understand their rights, access resources for rebuilding. The idea had grown slowly, through phone calls with Linda and Carol, through stories Agent Rivera shared about other cases. Too many victims struggled alone, overwhelmed by legal processes and financial complexity. I have experience now. And resources. And time to help people who are where I was 6 months ago. Jennifer nodded approvingly. Charitable foundations provide tax benefits and structured giving. How much did you want to allocate? $50,000 to start. More as we grow. It felt right. Taking money recovered from betrayal and using it to help others rebuild from similar destruction. My daughter reached across the table, squeezing my hand. Dad would hate this. Dad lost his vote when he emptied our accounts. We finished the paperwork as afternoon sun filled the office. New accounts, new investments, new purpose built from the ashes of trust destroyed. Walking to the parking lot, my daughter asked, "Are you happy, Mom?" I considered the question. Happy felt too simple for what I'd become. Stronger, wiser, more independent, those words fit better. I'm grateful, I said finally. Grateful we survived. Grateful the system worked. Grateful we learned what we're capable of. And the foundation? Something good from something terrible. Maybe that's the best kind of victory. At home, I filed our financial planning documents in the same drawer where I kept the yellow legal pad. Evidence of destruction and documents of rebuilding, side by side. The yellow legal pad sits in my desk drawer now, not as evidence, but as reminder. Details matter, patterns emerge, and sometimes the paper trail leads home. Thanks for following this journey. If this story inspired you, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories of resilience. What's the most important document you should be keeping? Share your thoughts below. Remember, the most dangerous betrayal is the one that thinks you're not paying attention. Subscribe for more stories of triumph over deception. Tell me in the comments, what detail from this story will stick with you? And never forget, your story isn't over when someone else thinks it should be.